Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I'm your host. My name is Daphne Royce. I am a real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. Coffee grows in many parts of the world. We commonly consume coffee the first thing in the morning, either at home or in a coffee shop. Hooked Coffee has innovated a new way to make coffee that guarantees a fresh cup every time. Let's welcome Natalie Ma, the founder and CEO of Hooked Coffee, to share some insights about her coffee. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, Daphne. Thanks for having me here.
Please tell us who you are and how you started Hooked Coffee.
Sounds good. Can give you a little bit of introduction about myself. So I grew up in Hong Kong until I was 13. I was born and raised there, and my parents wanted me to learn more about the world. So at 13 years old, they sent me to boarding school in England, where I was there for 5 years. And after that, I came to Berkeley, California for college. And after that, I stayed here to work, and I've been here in San Francisco ever since. I would say growing up, I've always been creative, passionate, and a little bit spontaneous. I loved anything from acting, design, dancing, you name it. But regardless, because of my parents and the culture around me, I chose the safe path when it came to career and things I've done in the earlier days. So I graduated from UC Berkeley with an applied mathematics degree. I went into finance. I worked in asset management for a few years before pivoting into the tech space where I did business operations and sales strategy for a few years. But during this time, I was deeply unfulfilled. I felt like there should be something else other than a 9 to 5 job. I felt like I wanted to enjoy work as much as life. So that was my main goal for the next few years. So it was around COVID when I actually got into the world of specialty coffee. And my roommate got me into it. And I realized, wow, I've been drinking coffee for 5 to 10 years and I had no clue what I was drinking. And I felt like there should be an easier way for people to enjoy premium taste and coffee without too much work involved. So it was COVID. So I visited my parents in Hong Kong, and in quarantine, I drank a lot of these pour over pouches, which was super popular in Asia and a lot of different countries around the world. So it clicked where I thought, why don't I put really good coffee in these filters so people can drink it just as simple as a tea bag? So I started it as a passion project when I continued to work on my full-time job for around a year or two. And fast forward 2 years later, we've launched Hooked Coffee in 2023, started off with a Kickstarter, and we officially launched around 8 months ago. So with Hooked Coffee, we are a single serve coffee platform, and our goal is to make specialty coffee easily accessible. We partner with specialty roasters nationwide so they can put their coffee into these easy to brew coffee formats.
Wonderful. I haven't tried your coffee. And why do you brew your coffee through a pouch in the package? This is only in Asia that popular for this.
That's a very good question. So, in terms of brewing formats, there is this type of method called pour over, which is very common. How it works is it's a cone shaped filter, and you just pour hot water over it so the water can drip through into the cup. So, that is a very common method. And that's also, I would say, the best way to extract the flavors of coffee, especially when it comes to specialty coffee where there are a lot of complex flavor notes. So we wanted to imitate that effect. So although there are many different types of brewing methods out there, we wanted to mimic pour overs to bring out the flavors. In terms of adoption in America, that was a question I was asking myself too. It's so convenient. Why does it not exist here? And my hypothesis is that Keurigs and Nespressos is the way that people brew coffee at home. So when that became the ritual, people don't really explore other options. So that just became the norm in America. So, well, now that's why now we're here to bring this convenient option to people as well. 50% of Americans use a coffee maker. It can be Nespresso, Keurig, or just a drip machine. So this is definitely in the conversations right now to see how we can elevate that experience for Keurig coffee drinkers as well, and also to make it more sustainable. I think these are our two main things, quality and sustainability. How can we just overall make the experience better for consumers, but also the planet?
I like a whole bean. I always drink from the whole bean and just grind before I drink. Will you have that option as well?
That is also in the conversations. I think it depends on what our ultimate goal is for hooked coffee. I think never say no, but right now, at least in 2024, we will focus on pour over pouches and make that experience better for consumers.
And that's easy to travel as well, right? You can take
Very
with
easy to
everywhere.
travel with. Yeah. We've had busy parents tell us, oh my God, your product is a lifesaver. I have two kids. I used to make my pour over every morning. I no longer have that time to do that. So it's always really heartwarming to hear that.
Curiosity, what is cold brew? Is it usually cold water or some method to do it?
Cold brew. So, cold brew is when you steep coffee in cold water for around 18 to 22 hours, depending on the coffee grounds you use. It normally the grind sizes of coffee is larger, so it will take, and it's also the water is cold, so it will take longer for the flavors to slowly extract out. And this method has been very popular in the last few years, and it's just continued to grow, especially with the Gen Z and Gen Alpha population.
Can we use a pouch with cold water? Will that work?
Yes, it will. So, what you do is you snip off the little wings on the side and you just steep our pouches in cold water for around 20 hours and you get yourself a cup of cold brew. So, it's super great because if you want a nice cup of hot coffee in the winter, you can totally do that. But also in the summer, you can enjoy a really refreshing drink.
Wonderful. I'm going to try that.
Yep. Excited to hear what you think.
Why is hooked coffee different than others?
I would say hot coffee is different from our approach. So we are extremely mission driven. Our goal is to make specialty coffee accessible and to shift perception when it comes to coffee. I think when it comes to the daily coffee drinkers, you press a button and you call it a day. But we want to elevate your experience, but still keep that convenience factor in it. So instead of producing our own coffee, instead of roasting our own beans, we've decided to partner with specialty roasters nationwide because we think this is a collective effort and we want to focus on these simple brewing products so you can just enjoy great coffee from different roasters everywhere. Yeah, we currently have 8 different coffees on our website right now. They are at different roast levels and different flavors, so people can try different coffees at home. And typically, if you don't know too much about coffee, we recommend you to use our quiz. So we will tell you what's the best option for you, or we even have like rotating subscriptions and also variety packs, so you can discover more about coffee. In terms of the coffees, we have a mixture of blends, single origins. Currently, at this very moment, we have one from Burundi, one from Peru. We're also rolling out other single origins so you can actually enjoy premium coffee using these pouches.
What would you recommend for the first-time user? Which one they should select on first purchase?
Yeah, so typically my first question for them will be, what do you normally drink? What are you normally used to? So if it's a medium roast or darker roast, we would recommend Andy's blend for Andy from Andy Town. It's always super popular. Also, Brooklyn blend from Partners Coffee is also another bestseller of ours.
That's a great recommendation. How can coffee to kept fresh? And what is the best way to store coffee?
Yeah, it depends on the format you purchase. So if you purchase whole beans, you have more leeway. I would say you should finish your bag of coffee within 2 to 3 weeks for the best flavors and the freshness. But if you buy ground coffee, you should finish it within a few days because when coffee touches oxygen, it starts to oxidize, so the flavors start to disappear. There's one way to keep it fresh, which is to put it in vacuum canisters, so you can suck out the oxygen. And that's actually the same thing we do with our pouches. Our pouches are fresh for 12 months, and that is because we flush nitrogen into these package. And because nitrogen is a heavier gas, it pushes out the oxygen, and that's how we keep it fresh.
I do see people put grind coffee in the freezer. Is that way to store coffee?
That is one way to store coffee. In fact, I do have some in my freezer right now. We are overflowing with coffee beans. But one thing to keep in mind is moisture content. So I would recommend that you would put like a completely new bag of coffee into the freezer rather than open it, reseal it, and put it back in. I think that yields the best results.
How interesting. Is your coffee mold free?
Yes, our coffee is mold free as a short answer. I think as long as you purchase specialty coffee, that is at the Specialty Coffee Association level, 80 points and above, you don't have to worry too much about mold. Mold and mycotoxins normally come in when moisture content, as long as you keep your coffee in a insulated environment, you should be fine.
I'd like to ask you, I always curious, what about the whole bean? The coffee feels woolly. Why is that?
Oily, okay. So this depends on the roast level that you purchase. So since you feel like the beans are a little oily, it means it is a darker roast. It is more developed. So there are natural oils that also start to surface as you roast the beans for longer. So there are three types of roast: light, medium, and dark. And before I say too much about this, coffee actually comes from a cherry fruit. And after it is processed, it arrives to the roaster, and the roasters roast the beans. And what from light roast, obviously from a visual perspective, it's lighter in color. It also tastes a little bit more fruity, and people typically call it more acidic. And because there is more of that flavor of fruity characteristics that is pertained in these beans. And as you roast it for longer, you will have more of that roasted chocolate, nutty flavors that start to develop as you roast for longer.
Can you share the differences between light, medium, and dark roast coffee?
Yeah, this really depends on the region, the blend, and the specific roasters you go to. But generally speaking, when it comes to a light roast, there will be a little bit more acidity in the coffee because, again, coffee comes from a cherry. So cherry has a little bit more of that fruitiness and acidity to it. So, and as you roast it for longer, medium roast, typically you will hear people use terms like nutty, chocolatey. And then as you go darker, it will become more of that like dark chocolate, smoky flavors that are, it will be the main characteristics of the coffee.
Is acidity of a coffee make a different taste?
It will make it taste different. So I would say it's acquired taste. I like to personally compare coffee to wine, where depending on the terroir, the regions that coffee come from, and even how long the coffee has been roasted, the flavors are different. So depending on what you're used to drinking, you might like a different flavor profile.
Do you have a personal favorite? Which region you like a coffee from?
I personally like my coffee from Ethiopia, Guji. It has this like berry flavor note in it. And that was actually the first cup of coffee I've had when I was like, wow, I actually taste the flavor, which was mind blowing to me because in the past, coffee was just coffee. So I would recommend you to try it if you're interested in learning more about coffee.
Can you talk about coffee notes and flavors?
Totally. Yeah, so coffee flavor notes come from two different criterias. It's either the region that it comes from, the terroir that changes the flavors of the coffee, or it comes from how long the coffee has been roasted for. So you probably know there is light, medium, and dark roast. So based on how long the coffee has been roasted for, the flavors change as well. Because coffee comes from a cherry fruit, when it's roasted for shorter periods of time, which is the light roast, it retains more of that fruitiness in it, which we know as acidic. And as you roast it for longer, then the nuttiness and the chocolate notes start to develop and come out.
Why does coffee has a chocolate flavor in it? I always curious about that. Is it from the different regions or method of roast, and they will turn out to have like a chalky nutty-ish flavor?
So for us, it's 100% coffee. So we don't add any artificial flavors to the coffee itself. The flavor notes comes from the coffee itself, and based on different regions and different terroirs and how the roasters roast their coffee, we can kind of come up with different flavor profiles for tasting purposes.
So your coffee is 100% original with no add flavors. Why do other coffees add flavors, and how do you differentiate those flavors?
So I would say they are in different buckets. I know there is like really fun flavors like hazelnut coffee or all these different like festive Christmas options. Um, I actually personally like them as well, but I just treat them differently. There is like the enjoying the beauty of a cup of like pure black coffee itself, but also have some fun in terms of specialty drinks like lavender coffee. That always sounds really awesome. So it's just a different product, I would say.
And I understand not just coffee, people love to have those favorite cream to make coffee taste differently,
Yeah,
correct?
totally. Yeah.
Do you have any plan to explain your products in the near future?
Yeah, of course. So we launched our brand around 8 months ago with 4 roasters, and we're actually launching with another 4 in the next quarter. So super excited for that. So we'll have 8 roasters within our portfolio, which are all incredible. We're also opening up to other roasters through a private label service. And we have a lot more exciting plans coming up in 2025 as well. So stay tuned.
What is your website and how can people purchase your coffee?
Yeah, our website is www.brewhooked.com. You can find us there. We're also launching on Amazon in the next few months. So if you are listening to this show in the summer of 2024, you can find us on Amazon as well. You can also follow us on social media. We're on all platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, under at brewhooked.com. That is BREWHOOKED.
I'm going to check your Instagram. I'm going to follow you now.
Thank you.
How many flavor you have right now? 4 different roasts?
We currently have 8 different coffees, and we will keep it that way. But we will most likely switch out seasonal products, bring in new coffees just to keep things more exciting.
Wonderful. That's great to know. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for those informative insights of coffee.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's super fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.